Okay, so you're back at it again. Sometimes you want the internet, but the internet doesn't want you. But you have to negotiate to get things done. So I was just briefing you on what we learned yesterday, and what we're going to learn today will be focused on the careers in in AI. We're going to focus more on machine learning now that we've had an understanding of general AI is something that's not going to serve us. Neither will super AI. So we should perhaps put it at the back of our minds and look at the type of technology that section in AI that will be helpful to us as SMEs, as individuals trying to pursue a career at this, or people who are trying to open a business around and would love to see how this technology will benefit them. So, having said that, we're going to look at that. The second thing we're going to look at will be around data and the influence of data to your business and how you can take advantage of that with this type of technology. So, and after that, it will be interesting to now see what are the three important parts that you might take in hiring, in handling your customer service, as well as marketing so that you can get more customers. So, I'm just going to start with this that we're focusing on machine learning today. And this is something I've already expressed to you that this is perhaps the most popular form of artificial intelligence that we have. It is popular because of how useful it is to us, right? The ability to learn from data and make predictions and come up with insights. It's perhaps an intelligence that any of us, especially as a small business, we are not Google's, we are not Microsoft's. So what can we do with this type of technology, right? The best that we can have a shot at, because we might not have the kind of budgets that they have to do, deep research, is just the ability for us to make better predictions over time, over a period of time, without having to have programmers in place, being able to gather insights, being able to um, come up with new ways to do things out of the technology. So, having said that, so we are not going to try and talk as if we are just a journalist trying to express how cool this technology is. We're actually just going to focus on the fundamental things. The whole point of this is to not make this any magical in any way. The whole point of this is to make this as practical as possible for you to use it. So, just going to admit someone here. Good. So, anyway, let's pick off from careers in machine learning. Now that we're focusing on this one aspect of artificial intelligence, what who are these guys in machine learning that make up all the cool stuff that are popular right now or are useful right now? What is the team composition that enables all this magic to happen in one place? So this might not be, I've listed these ones, but this might not be the full list. This might vary. So let us look at this on a scope of a small business. Let us look at it as a small to medium sized business and what they can do with this, or a startup coming up on what they can do with this, right? So we're not going to look at a typical uh, a typical Google research setting where they have research scientists, they have all sorts of people involved in their chain of pushing out a machine learning application in any way. We're just going to look at what are the most fundamental, uh, roles that might be involved in anyone taking on in a machine learning team. So we're going to look at an architect, someone who's responsible of managing the machine learning product. We're going to look at a data engineer, someone who is involved in organizing the data that we collect and harvest. We're going to look at a data scientist, someone who finds the use cases in that and prepares a model. We're going to look at a machine learning engineer, someone who now takes on the model and makes sure it performs over time better. And we're going to look at an annotator, which is rather a very silent skill in this technology, a very silent but yet very crucial skill that people do not often touch when they talk about machine learning. But essentially, the people who organize this data that has been collected, the people who actually collect this data as a team or as a group for it to in order for organizations and companies to actually come up with any sort of data product or any sort of intelligent systems that are in place. So let us first go ahead with the architects, which are basically equivalent to product managers. If you are not in the technical field, perhaps you might say this one is just a project manager. It's not a product manager, it's a project manager. Someone who's able to also present and organize the team around the problem that needs to be solved, then communicate with being able to communicate with anyone at the top to make sure that the project is meeting its objectives. If you are muted, kindly, I'd like you to mute during this period. Thank you. Anyone who's unmuted, I'll just ask you to mute, or maybe I'll do it for you. Good, fair enough. Right, let's get back to it. So the role of an architect or someone who owns the project, they're basically called CEOs of a project, right? So they're able to present problems and and assess, what are the problems that can be solved by machine learning. Because let us be very honest with each other that machine learning can solve some problems really well, and there are problems that it cannot solve well. And now, even you in your business or in your company, in your department, you have to know what can be well solved with machine learning based on one, the data that you guys have, the capabilities that you have, the budget that you have, what can you put in place or do in order to make that happen. So not all problems you're going to solve them with this technology, even if it's as intelligent as it gets. It will be up to you to select what you can do based on the criteria of the data, the team, the budget that you have, and the tools that you have access to. So the person who determines that is someone who's the architect of the project, the manager of the product that you're trying to create, or simply the person who manages that project. So the job of these guys is usually the, um, the guys who just work with other teams to ensure everything is well understood, all the processes are in place, all the necessary budget and team and objectives are in place, and the team is getting what it stepped out to do with machine learning to get it done. That's all they do. So that is sort of like the lead of the team. So the second person that is essential in this kind of team is a data engineer. So a data engineer is essentially someone who manages where the data sits. That's all they do. That's all they do. They basically, if data has been collected, these guys are able to know what is the right, service that we can place our data. Are we going to preferably put it on Google Cloud? Are we going to use Microsoft? Are we going to use Blue Hosting? Or any tool that is supposed to store data for the team, they are the guys who will determine. So that's the first thing that they do. The second thing, since they determine where data sits in the organization, they equally determine or have to know where the sources of data are. Are you moving data from HR? Are we getting data from HR? Good. How are we getting data from HR? Does it back up every day? Yes. Or what time does it back up? Does it back up in midnight? Yeah, sure. Where does it back up to? That is the person who is responsible for that. He is often the first person who has the kind of interaction with the data that you guys have collected or that sits in the organization. And because he is the gatekeeper of where the data is, he often is responsible for making sure the team is self-service. That means because he has the keys. Now it's like he just goes ahead and says, you these guys were going to access data from this window or from this door. This team B is going to access it on this other door, and team C is going to access this kind of data on this other door. So it's the person who sets all that, because he's the owner of the house, he's the landlord of the data. He's essentially able to determine um, who has access to what. Are you going to have access to this drawer with this kind of data? Sure. I'm going to give you the keys to this drawer. So that is his job as a data engineer. The third person on why we call him is a data scientist, and the reason why we call data scientists mythical creatures is because they essentially are polymaths. So a polymath is someone who has multiple knowledge in different fields or skill sets. These individuals are often have a background in either social sciences, or have a background in mathematics, or have a background in software engineering, right? So either of those, and most of the time they combine the three, because as a data scientist, you often find yourself having to combine the three. The reason why they have to combine the three is after they've been given access by the data engineer to access, let's say customer data, they have to find use cases, right? They have to look at data and see which, when we have customer data, which data is important to us, right? Do we need data for the past 4 years? Do we need data for the past 2 years? Do we need data for the past, for yesterday, right? And after doing that, they come up with a use case. That is a use case. They want to say, we want to re-attract customers, because when he does a simple analysis, he's able to see the people who are paying so much are not the new customers, are the old customers. So how do we re-attract the old customers as opposed to the new ones? So how can we learn about the new customers, right? So that is their job. And for the most part, they are the most creative people in a project, because the ability to come up with a use case will enable them to do whatever it takes to play around with data and to make it available to to, to a certain use case, so that they can come up with a certain use case. So they mostly experiment a lot, right? So the two things they do for the most part is just cleaning data. And because when we collect data and the data engineer is able to organize the data, know where it sits, and gives data scientists the key to access this type of data, that data is mostly, sometimes it has missing values. Someone was supposed to record their email number, they did not. Someone else was supposed to record their phone number, they did not. And we know this so much when we sell our products. Even your own person in the team might not be able to record some data, or might have missing values. That's often what human beings do. That is normal with us. Sometimes we mess up on the things we are even used to doing for a long time. So the job that he has to do is he has to clean that data, know what data is what data is important to us, what data is not important to us, what data are we missing that we might actually need to collect in order to satisfy this use case. So they determine that data set, that data collection that we have to use to support a certain use case. Then after doing that, they experiment a lot, as I said, to come up with a use case or ways in which you can reattract or predict, the customer profile that you have to come up with. It involves a lot of experimentation, like what is the most important factor in a customer buying from us. They are the guys who are able to determine that and see and make up a prediction of what is the most important thing that our customer profile has to target in order to, to have a little bit of accuracy if with someone fits the profile, a new customer fits the profile, or they do not fit the profile, right? Then after doing that, they actually uh, come up with machine learning models. That means they're able to take that data set and come up with a model. They'll choose an algorithm to use, a machine learning algorithm, and they're able to combine that with the data that they want for this specific use case and go ahead and build something out of it, build a model out of it, so that the next time we have accurate predictions on who is who is the customer we ought to be targeting. Do the current or the new customers fit the profile after we made this advertisement? And the people who reach out to us, are they our target customers or are they not? Now, after the data scientist has come up with a simple model, the person who goes ahead to maintain the accuracy or the intelligence of this model is a machine learning engineer. These guys focus on the model only, right? So the data scientist is mostly worrying about the data and how we're going to use it, then comes up with a simple model. But the person who takes that model improves on it and makes sure that this model is alive and works for us is a machine learning engineer. And most of them, they are quite, their job is to keep this model working well and keep its accuracy working well. That's all they do. So most of their work and their background is focused on mathematics and algorithms for the most part. That's what they learn um, to do, and that's their job on an everyday basis. Now, having said that, let's go to the silent but yet most important, one of the most important people in this. They're not they're not mostly spoken about because uh, it's an old craft and a very important craft, and it is very essential to it's very essential to AI, but we like to downplay it because most of the time people are just excited about what the technology can do, not what it takes to actually use or implement the technology for yourself. So annotators and data collectors are people who are just responsible for collecting and organizing data for projects. Most of the time, they try to clean the data, but their cleaning is not as good or as superior as a data scientist. So most of the time, they just are good at organizing that data and make it uh, available to organizations. So let's look at an example of these companies that you might have known. Let's say Tesla, that is busy trying to make, self-driving cars. Let us look at even Apple, who's also trying to get into the self-driving cars. Let us look at all these other companies, like again, the same Apple trying to come up with a better facial recognition, same to Google, right? All these companies, guess what? All these companies need a whole team of people who are busy collecting data and organizing that data for their algorithms to work, for their AI models to work, right? Because this technology feeds on data, AI feeds on data, machine learning to be specific feeds on so much data, right? Because the more data you have, the more it's able to make more predictions accurately, give you more insights, and continuously be better by learning from data. So these guys have existed for quite a while. Um, Most of them might actually do a lot of NGOs benefit, because NGOs tend to collect so much data and not really use it to as much as they would want to. As long as they finished a project, that's about it. So back to what I was saying with all these companies, the really large companies, they depend on very small organizations that are able to organize people to collect data and to collect data and organize data for their AI models. So a good example of this organization is actually one in Kenya called Summersource. I don't know if you heard it. So the whole point of Summersource is they're actually based around Kibera. What they do is they give people in slums, or people who are perhaps trying to look for opportunities. They they're able to take them and train them on how to collect data and organize data, then pay them per day for how much data they can organize. And mostly this annotation, which is just the organization of this data of text and image, is just done behind the screen. Somebody has tons of data, is shown some images, able to select how many, is there an image of the car here, or those specific items are they able to pick out of different images and all those items. And that's the job that they do. They're just simply able to organize that data so that AI models can benefit or can have better accuracy, right? And this exists in Kenya. It's a whole organization that is solely focused on doing that. So I think they still have are open for sort of internships. If you want to look out and see or be close to what's going on, you might actually go and search for some sorts so you can find them. So to put it all together, we've talked about someone who's responsible for the whole project, which is an architect or the product manager of that machine learning product we're trying to create. We've talked about a data engineer, the person who's the landlord of data when it comes to the team. We've talked about the data scientist, someone who cleans the data and is able to find a use case of the data and finally come up with a simple model. And we've talked about a machine learning engineer, someone is able to take that model that has been created and make it better and improve on it and keep its accuracy of prediction in place. Then finally, the data collectors, the annotators and the data collectors, people are able to collect and organize data in order for us to improve the model over time, and also in order for us to come up with a model. So that whole cycle is based on just these things, which is the ability to collect data and digitize it. Once you take your papers in a cabin and you digitize them, put the records in Excel. The second thing is to transform them, make them available for use, clean them. After you're able to clean them, you go to the next step, which is ability to train, ability to now come up with a machine learning model that you can have in place, and you train it through data. You also test it through data. The second final part is you're able to execute it. Now put it in let it have access to new data and see how it improves over time. And it's able to provide lots of insights and even make decisions in some cases for you without the involvement of a human being. So that's how all these cool things that you get to see around image recognition, facial recognition, credit scoring models that you don't need to suddenly you don't need to put your car on with a bank in order to take a loan. All that magic is done with data. And mostly those are the teams around it, especially if you're creating a new product altogether or a new service, new intelligent service. That is your team composition for the most part. So, having said that, let's see, now that we have these roles already in place, people advertising for them, what is the impact of the technology so far, right? So let us look at a few things that we might have in place. So when I talk of robotics, I don't want you to assume robots that are somewhere, physical robots that we've made, we've put some metals together and they're moving around. Kick off that imagination. Sometimes robots are just what we like to call bots. We remove the RO before. So the bots are still robots essentially. They're just software robots, um, or model robots that are able to move around and automate processes for you. So 68% so far in business implementation, you have 68% of robotics and automation. That means we have more systems, more smart systems in place that are able to, schedule meetings, that are able to organize different things for us. When do I give you a reminder? And if you've been using Gmail lately, you'll find that if you've not opened a mail that you probably deemed important after some time, it's able to give you a reminder like, hey, are you still, do you still, it's been 9 days since you looked at this mail. Are you sure you want to respond to it? So that is a sort of bot that is sitting behind Gmail that is able to automate that process for you and be able to learn your behavior and why you have not opened this mail, yet you pinned it as something important. So there's a majority of that, and it is so silent. It's just behind us. We don't even get to see it through our phones, laptops, Cortana on your Windows. Is just sitting there silently, doing everything in the background, automating things for you in the background in a smart way, learning about your behaviors and your usage without you even knowing, right? The second one is pattern and insight. So there's the development so far has been 52% when it comes to business implementation, which is we having machine learning models that are able to understand patterns and give you insights. They're able to analyze how you how you respond to things, how you react to things, the likelihood of you to achieve one or two or three things. Those ones have a 52% penetration, especially in ability to. It has probably largely been driven by performance systems. Performance systems would be like HR performance systems have been able to improve this. Customer patterns, systems that exist, especially for marketing, have been able to grow this percentage to 52% so far in business implementation. The third one is perhaps the least one is 18% by engagement technology. And what I mean by engagement technology is uh, when we spoke of natural language processing yesterday, it was mostly around this ability for us to or ability for us to train machines to be able to interact and to engage. That is difficult because we talked about the context in which makes it very difficult is our communication is not A and B, right? Our communication is probably A, C, D, Z, come back to E. We communicate in different ways. And developing a technology that is able to be as comprehensive and to understand the context of human beings as much as possible is still difficult, right? And if you've noticed, the more the technology is close to humanness, a field, the more a field is close to human closeness, the harder it is to implement. So pattern and insights, yes, we can do that with data. Automating things and robotics, that is still something we can do that. It's close. But when it comes to how we speak, how we emote, how we evoke sentiment, that becomes hard because it's more human and it's close. So it gets difficult. And that's why we're still quite far with the general AI. Now, let's look at some of the industry applications that we have in place. So we have, let us brush through agriculture, marketing, and manufacturing. So the first one, and I'm going to speak on the ones that we have in Africa so you guys can take lots of pride in it. So the first one I'll speak of is ITIKI project. So this project has been done by Professor Mudoni Masindo. She's a Kenyan, but she's a professor in South Africa. And she was able to come up with a tool that is able to use wireless sensors and AI to inform farmers or to predict the likelihood of a drought period, right? So what they were able to do in this project is to meet farmers, not not the farmers with big farms and doing tens of thousands of acres. No, just simple people with 2, 1, 5, 10 acres together and some cooperatives, and be able to install wireless sensors around their farms. So wireless sensors are just simply sensors that will pick up different things about the soil and about the farm and how it's performing over a period of time, right? So they were able to collect all this data live from farmers' field and be able to have a prediction, be able to predict drought for these small farmers who did not have the knowledge or did not have the kind of intelligence that a person with 10,000 acres can afford to put in place. So, and after that, these sort of predictions were forwarded as uh, messages, text to these farmers of, hey, you might need to change the type of crop you are farming from maize that you had initially set up to something else that will cater for the dry season that may come up um, in the next 1 to 2 months. So far the impact has been, farmers and households. It's been 6,000. They've been able to impact 6,000 people, plus the number of acres is 46,000. So you can imagine how many people have benefited from that. And the food production out of those projects have been 4 tons. So pretty good job, decent job in implementing this in place. So I'd like to go to in the second example in farming, that are the engagement in machine learning. So the second one has been Farm Drive. So Farm Drive is a story about two ladies who come from homes where agriculture was practiced. And they are computer scientists, so they thought they will come up with something around it. So they wanted to offer financial aid to small farmers who did not have a credit score. If you tell a farmer right now, how credit worthy are they don't even know the term sometimes. All they know is that I'm going to plan or farm for this season. This is how much harvest I might expect after doing this for 10 years or 4 years, or even I'm starting out, right? So how can you improve in case of anything that happens in your farm, or how do you improve your agricultural input? So what Farm Drive was essentially offering is the ability for farmers to take credit and to take credit from them, but they had to collect data about their farm produce. So the more farm produce you have and you keep records with them, the better you stand a chance at doing credit scoring for them. So this is how it works. Essentially, the farmer registers with their mobile phone. They are able to keep records. The more they keep records, the more the model is able to do analytics and come up with a profile. Once it comes up with a profile, it's able to know if you are doing 40,000, if you're doing 10 bags a month or this season, or 40 bags this season, or and you're producing 5 liters per day, how much can we offer to you to extend your business, to extend your farming business, right? So that is a profile. After they've profiled you, they're able to give you some funding that will then improve the life of a farmer. So that is one. That is the second example of machine learning in action on a very grassroots level. Um, Apart from just sitting somewhere in Google, right, or Facebook. So I'd like to talk about AI in manufacturing too. So in manufacturing, in some instances, we've seen in manufacturing a very expensive venture. If anyone here has ever tried it or has been around the space, the automation process is crazy. And if you lose some money around the production, or if people you produce to do not pay back, you are likely to go out of business, right? So we have existing systems that are put in place, through machine learning, that are able to forecast the likely failures of a system, because most of the time it is usually failures that stop you. So imagine you have 40,000 uh, items you need to put out in place the next morning. Then at 10, early in the morning, or just 12, halfway the process, or maybe even 8 a.m., machines stop. Why? They've worn out. The equipment has failed, and now you have to do a repair. The initial cost of doing that repair is already high for you, and you already have orders in place that you need to put out. So how are you going to handle that? If if there was a possibility or the likelihood that you would prevent that, would you? So there is existing systems called like Quantify AI. You should probably check it out if you're into manufacturing, that enable you to, to put down the type of systems that you have, and how long you've put them at work, how much have they produced, and you're able to use that system to predict the likelihood of those machinery to fall out in place, like for them to perhaps stall you, or for them to go for a scheduled repair. So that's one of the ways it does that. And the way it does that is it's able to take, it has a whole database of how much material, the materials that are involved in different machines. They have access to that kind of data. So they know a skill that is coming from this location, that by this company, is probably going to uh, keep you alive for 2 or 3 years. After those 3 years, you need to do a replacement. So that is one of them. And also, just to share this on how computer vision, as we spoke of yesterday, is able to take much more control on this, is one, once we mount smart computers with the ability to have vision, it's able to pick on a few items, on any default items. So once you're doing the sorting part, the AI system, which has already been trained with thousands of images, is able to pick up if, if a certain tool, or if a certain thing or goods or products is not really been done well. So it's able to help in the sorting. So you don't share out defective items, you only share out very high quality items that you're putting out. So that's another way to save on the costs that comes with manufacturing. So having said that, let's go to marketing. We've brushed through agriculture, we've gone through manufacturing. Let's look at marketing. I know probability is, this is where guys take their pens out, the traveling marketing. How do we get clients? right? So essentially, how machine learning is able to help with uh, marketing is in three ways: the ability to improve loyalty around your brand, the ability to bring awareness, through advertisement, targeted advertisement, and the ability to also find and source or do a conversion of a new customer, right? So there is a way in which Facebook already does that. Basically, just converts customers to you. So the first thing that mostly you do is, let's look at the paid advertisements. If you pay for an advertisements, let's say on Google, if any of you have used Google AdWords, where you make sure, if you're selling shoes, right, like only luxury shoes, you make sure that if anyone is searching for anything around luxury shoes, anything around it, if those two are typed on Google, your content or your store is able to pop up anytime it does that, right? Why are you doing that? You're doing that so that you are raising more awareness to your brand. You're doing that so that you might source or find potential customers, right? Another way in which um, machine learning is actually in action so much is Facebook, which is a very good example. So what Facebook does, it allows you to to advertise. You sign up with your business as a business account, either as a business page with a business account, and it allows you to set your business up there. Now, if you want to launch advertisements of any kind, it's going to do it for you in two platforms. One in Instagram, the second one on Facebook itself, right? So how it's able to do this, it enables you to pick out important demographics that you want in place. Who is the type of person do you want to target? Do you want to target 25 to people at the age of 25 to 30 for your product? What region you're going to choose per location that you want to target, right? Um, and how robust do you want to do this? Now it becomes a pay game. If you want to pay as much as you can to put your advertisement, you can do that on both platforms, right? And you're able to track and see how people are interacting with your product. Now the interesting part, because Facebook wants you to pay it more, the interesting part that people do not see is when Facebook starts looking for people similar to your product. You already have a specific customer, but then it also likes to go ahead and see who else, apart from whom you placed or targeted, can fit in your audience so that you can make more revenue. That is what people do not know. Most businesses do not know that Facebook does that. But you shouldn't be surprised. This is the same company that was able to get you a friend who you studied with in nursery and tell you people you are likely to know, and you're actually surprised, like, how was it able to narrow down in all the social, there's tens of thousands of people you probably interacted with since you were born, and now you are 30 years old and you're still able to see someone you studied with in nursery or in primary school. So just the same way they're able to get you someone who you think might not have bought your product. So you put out a product and you are targeting ladies and their handbags or dresses. Then suddenly you find a gentleman ordering the same piece for their lady for a birthday. Then you wonder, but I only targeted ladies, right? But then Facebook was the overall thing was to get you someone who's able to make revenue for you in order for you to keep using the platform. So that's how it works. So the other one is can be done through email, where you create content and it's able to personalize that type of content and the type of profiles. So it has email profiles. If you've ever used Mailchimp is a good example that's able to do that for you. You're able to send whatever content you have to specific people on their emails or advertise via email. Another one would be personalized feedback, which is just chatbots that mostly sit on your website and capture is able to capture the interaction around your website. So this one is still being implemented through some plugins on a WordPress. WordPress websites are probably one of the best around this. So you're able to have plugins that will immediately pick out um, will immediately pick out what the user was looking at. So you have your website set up and you have everything there. You have multiple products. So how many people scroll to just click on one specific product over the other? Where did the user even stay for the most part looking at a certain word that you had put in place or name that you had put in place, what captivated them on your website. So having said that, I think we can now move from those examples and look at data and SMEs. We've now spoken about, we've walked through some implementations in agriculture, in manufacturing, and in marketing through Facebook. Now, how can we dive into it as SMEs or people who are starting to start out with small businesses? So there is around four ways to do it. So first of all, I like to call them the 4Ds because you have to digitize, you have to put things in a database, you have to develop material out of your database that you've created, and now you have to also factor in or consider data regulations in your space. So the first one, which is pretty direct, make sure your data is not physical only. People have invested so much in bookshelves and all those items in place, right? So that part is something that we need to make sure we are able to move past, right? So we are able to make sure, at least put it on Excel. At least put it on Excel, put it in a spreadsheet, even if it's Google spreadsheet. We should not just put them in a cabinet somewhere. And that might be very important data to put in place. If that is hard for you, get a small team of interns that are very good at the data collection and annotation. They'll fill all those Excel spreadsheets for you keenly. This is something I've done for a business, in a local business that was trying to sell lunch. It's called Lunchbox. They essentially have been doing 1.5 years just keeping books, literally writing down the orders in place every day for 2 years. So you can imagine the time they came and they said, we want to do something with this data. We had to start from books, essentially getting the team to sit down and put all that data in Excel spreadsheet before we even looked at the customer data. Having done that, now the next step, now that we've put them in tables, we are able to now come up with to clean that data, because the good thing is when you are filling data during that time, you're able to clean it, you're able to discard some items. So the team did not have an issue discarding values that were not essential during that time. Then after that part, we're able to pick on specific data, which was the location in which people are ordering lunch from. That was so important. The buildings that people are ordering lunch from, which is so important. Also, the dates that they were ordering lunch from. So we're able to come up with a customer profile that was able to show us, apparently ladies are the only people who eat lots of lunch, and during work hours, who are able to buy lunch, right? And also the unique trend was also uh, males were mostly 50-year-olds that were buying lunch more. We don't know if they had turned into bachelors or they preferred not eat, carrying food at home, but that was exactly it. But the value that came out of the data will not be there in place if we did not in any way convert that data into something meaningful. So first things first, digitize your data. The second part that is essential is keep a database. Now that you put them as a spreadsheet, you need to back them up. You need to put them in a place where you can access it anytime, which is the cloud. So, as a small business, you can start with very small business suites. Like there's Google Business Suite that's able to give you fast, the minimal. If your data is very small, we can do 15 GB, but that's where you start from, right? Then you have to open yourself to other services that now will put 5 10 TBs of data online for you. And also, once you've set things on a digital level, have processes that back your data up. If you're having spreadsheets, have those spreadsheets being able to be backed up in a certain database, in a certain cloud service that you might want to use. The reason why you should do that is you keep your most essential data because you want to do something with it, right? We want to come up with a machine learning model out of the data, so we need to keep the data well. So after doing keeping your data on the database, we move to the third D, which is now look at the data that you have collected and start from the most beneficial data for you. For the most part, unless you're a comfortable business, you are not struggling with getting customers, which even if you are good at getting customers, you'll always want more. We'll always want more, right? So start with the customer's data and say probably starting with customer data is something most of you will do. Or maybe you can look at streamlining operations to reduce your cost. Then now being able to come up with a model that is able to do predictions in your specific areas. So that is something you would have to look at. And now the third thing and the fourth thing that is essential is data ethics. So this is not, the times have changed, guys. So this is not the time where people would mess around with anyone's data the way they used to do. Even Kenya has a data protection law in place that, and we actually have a whole organization that is meant to govern that. Just that the implementation has been slow. So what you're going to find moving on forward through the years is you're going to have a person called a data officer. A data officer will almost be like a licensed officer who will make sure his job is to make sure all businesses that you are running, adhere to data protections, data laws, and you're protecting your customers they're protecting your customers that you hold their data in place so that you do not, as an organization, misuse it in any way, right? So there is ownership, individuals who own their data. How is it important? Transaction and transparency. How does your algorithm work? But the good thing with this is that it will not be shown to competitors. So relax. Another thing is concept. How are you going to ask customers to keep data? This is where most of us, even on a personal level, do not really care for. You get something, you get sort of cookies. Accept cookies from all websites when you're googling something. Just accept, but you don't know the cookies are tracking you across your Google search, and they're trying to constantly look for what you're looking at so that they can sell you something. Another one is privacy. You have to make sure you do not reveal data that is private to customers. That's something you need to be keen not to do. Then also currency. How are you? You have to be open in how you're going to benefit the financial results that come from you harvesting using this data. And openness is not directly applied mostly in most laws, so relax. This will simply be if you go to organizations like we did sometime in Bichamba when we wanted more data around dairy, we had to go to what is this organization? It's a university in Nakuru. I've forgotten it, but it will come back in my mind. But we had to go there. They had tons of data from 2006 from their research, and the data was free, but we had to be open that the data that we were using were coming from them or Egerton University. So we had to be open with that. So those are some of the ethics that you might need to look up. I'd advise you to go look at data protection law. Hopefully, if you get to join us um, on the full training, we'll take you through the most fundamental laws that apply to you, not as an individual, but mostly as a business. Now, the final part is now let's look at how machine learning can. We've already given an example on how data and how the fields of application that we have. We can now talk about machine learning in your business service, which is how are you able to target people in your market, how are you able to automate your customer service, and how are you able to hire the best talent. So I'd say for the most part, when it comes to target position of your market, it's mostly about how you include, you have to include how you want to target your customers. So where do your customers exist? Are they online or offline, right? Because the strategy has to come from that. Is it online? Is it offline? If they're offline, how do you get to them? How are you able to mark people who are offline to get to buy your products? Which location are they? Do you need to deploy physical cells on the ground or find ways in which the offline people can give you data online? That's something you need to consider. Now, the second is where you will find them. I think that is already pretty direct, the demographics. Then you also have to think of how you'll deliver value to them and also how you benefit from targeting them. So I'm just going to share with you how the marketing cycles in AI occur on the background. So what happens on the background is these are samples from an organization called HubSpot and also a combination of what Facebook does behind the scenes. So you have customer interaction and the value you give them. So first it starts from, generating demand, right? Through advertising, you suddenly get your products to be seen on both Facebook or Instagram, right? So first you do that as a service. The second thing is the customer makes the first purchase. Then now you want to get the customer to either be a repeat customer automatically or sometimes a customer might be indecisive, right? And now you have to get them from being indecisive to be a repeat customer and finally become a loyal customer. And also if the customer has gone for so long, you have to get them back to repeat, right? So the first thing is usually where you build very smart content, and that's why Facebook will tell you, oh, put A, B, C, and D in place so that we can share it out. Then how there's some places where AI can, like HubSpot, which will help you generate content, and even Mailchimp will help you generate content. The second one is on the background, you now get the customer to act on the sale, which is you have to target them with ads. Now, the ad that you've made is put out there, and what happens on the background is Facebook is scoring who has the highest chance of buying from you. So that is called lead scoring. And it's also predicting who else is likely to buy from you if we've got one person who has 80% chance of buying our product. How then, how many people among the groups, the social circle of that 80% person can buy the same product from you. That is with the same magic they get people you may like, people you may know. Is the same effort they take with this, because human beings are social animals and we have social constructs. You probably connect with people that you are familiar with, right? So after the customers already made the purchase, how do you retarget them? So this one is when people now put out offers, right? Facebook now nudges you to put out an offer to your customers. So you put out an offer, and it goes out there, so you can convert the repeat customer or get the repeat customer, the indecisive one, to now make a decision to make another purchase. And finally, on the last stage of now getting a customer who's already loyal, is now you predict what other needs will a customer who has bought twice from you have. What next will they want or have from the product? So, and so that's about the marketing part. I'm hoping you guys will join so that we can actually do that in practice. Now, the second part is automating customer service, which we were just from complaining how Zuku has been doing us dirty. Even me has been doing me dirty in the earlier times of presentation, where you know a fault might go, and they might take so much time to respond. So how can we get Zuku to be better? Probability is Zuku needs to predict its charges. It needs to predict the times when its customers are going to be faced with a network issue and know how to handle that. Perhaps automate a service that is able to let the customer know that this is the issue that is going on, and this is how long we might fix, so this is how long it might come back, right? So that is an automated way. You have to look at the problems in your product and be able to predict what is likely to happen and anticipate. After you have anticipated, you're able to be very proactive with your customers. So you keep your customers doing that. So one of the ways to do that is you can set up a smart customer management system, which is called a CRM. Another one is to actually build bots around your website and social media, so that they're able to capture any customer response or queries that you'll mostly find with your repeat customers or new customers. So the final part will be, hiring the best talent, which we already have existing smart system that will allow you to upload your requirements as an employer and be able to automatically help you set questions. You might find it funny. It might be funny to know that people struggle setting up questions for interviews. They know the objectives of the requirements, but setting up questions to test people on those requirements is a bit hard, right? So after doing that, and you probably set up some questions, and the candidate passed, and you had a one-on-one interview, and they seem like a good candidate, and you get them in. Now, how are you able to track their performance based on the objectives of the things you had them for? And how are you able to understand them over time? Because you have to conduct some personality tests around. So most people, when you introduce personality tests, is they get worried. But there are systems which you can easily score someone based on their personality score, based on how they are interacting with a certain role that you put out, right? And also the final part is when you are able to now manage and anticipate conflict based on personalities. If you have three clashing personalities working in a certain role, you have to anticipate that something might happen. What is the best way to reshuffle the team so that they can work best? Because the more friction they have, the lesser business you're moving forward. So there is more that we are going to take on, especially if you join on the actual training that will take 6 weeks. Joan is going to share that with you, but we will be able to walk you down, especially on marketing and HR, and also customer service. Will help you set up a bot, will help you collect your data, organize your data that you have in place, because the practice will actually be you organizing your own data for a certain project, or for a certain purpose, so that you can be able to take that data and use it for a certain business case that you might have, or improve your organization in place. So I think that's about it for today. I see we have 11 people left. I'd like you all to, anyone to just unmute and talk about anything they're looking forward to implement in their business, and what path are you possibly taking with this technology? So anyone? You can share your feedback on the chat. Yes, Edith, you can unmute and speak. Where is Edith? Edith, you can write on the chat, or you can just unmute and speak to us.
Sorry. Okay, what I was saying is, as I had asked earlier, I would like to be able to sift through my customers.
Yes.
The people I've approached with my products, and they have shown interest, but maybe 6 months down the line, they have not yet committed. And also to be able to analyze the customers that have already closed, and keep a track. The other thing I'd like to be able to do is analyze my technical staff, so that I'll be able to know who are my most competent, maybe technicians, and also maybe perfect my work when it comes to the installations and support. Maybe be able to know when a camera, for instance, when I do a CCTV installation, when a camera is about to fail, like if I've done an installation maybe in Mombasa, how do I know if it's about to fail and what faults are in the system? So those are some of my concerns.
Okay. So if I may ask, what's the nature of your business? Like, what do you do as a business, if I may ask?
Okay, I do installation of CCTV cameras. And of late, I've also begun doing installation of solar systems.
Okay.
So like if I do for you a solar water heating system, I should be able to continue monitoring like the attributes, how much is it heating your water, how much power is being stored, is it able to warm the water for you at the right temperature, are there drops? If it's for CCTV cameras, I'd like to know when the system is about to fail or when it needs support. So those are some of the things. I don't know whether they are achievable in the near future.
Okay, so I'd say good stuff with what you are working on with your business. So I'd say if you're already in such a technical space where you have installations of existing systems, I'd like to ask a question which would be, is there a way in which you can virtually have access of these items? So I know like you might have maybe digital cameras or analog ones, but if you're able to get them online, at least you can be able to access them through an IP. So I'm thinking if you are the one who has done the installation, you are probably the same person who's doing the management of them. Like if anything happens to them, you're the
Yeah.
person who they will call to fix. So I would say you have to come up with a way in which you are doing monitoring of your clients. So if I have 6 clients and we have
Yes.
cameras installed, when do you know from your IP that perhaps a customer's camera is at fault? So at what point are you able to know that? So I might not have a background in sort of installation around the same like you do, but I'm just imagining you if there is a way in which you are able to, if you have virtual access to these systems that you install, then you might have a way in which you're able to know what when things go wrong for these systems. So I don't know how we can work it out. Maybe I can't per se deep in right now on a technical level, because I also do a little bit of, I did some time camera installation. So I know a little bit of that. I don't know about solar, but I think it might need us to dig in further. I'm just hoping I can have access to have this conversation with you after this. Yeah.
Okay, thank
So anyone else on the chat, I would like to speak. I'm asking a question: how are you going to use this technology in any way?
Hello.
Yes, Luku.
What I'm trying to do is to build a community of entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Um, and I want to do it on Telegram. I've done it on WhatsApp, but that has been free.
Yes.
But rather than what I want to do is rather than do what most people are doing, using the metrics they normally use, they use business, right? They use the value of the transactions.
Yes.
I mean, that's what most business networks do.
Yes.
What I want to measure is the engagement. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I have designed. I've designed the what I want to take place, the activities on the Telegram forum with a view to getting people to engage with one another. But every activity is supposed to, kind of provoke people to want to take part, but it also benefits them and it benefits their businesses.
Yeah.
So for me, it's about creating a proactive community of entrepreneurs who create impact within themselves, but also in the community that surrounds them. For me, participation, measuring participation, engagement is what I'm really trying to figure out. How do I track that?
How do you track that? So what is you've said the channel in which the engagement happens is mostly on Telegram only, not any other place. You've spoken of WhatsApp. So it's mostly on Telegram and WhatsApp only?
No, I've done, what I have is WhatsApp. What I have on WhatsApp has a waiting list.
Yes.
But I don't want to start another WhatsApp group. I want to now use the Telegram because I can have more people. And then I was being told by somebody else that you can build bots. I didn't know what bots are, but I've got an idea now after listening from you.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. But also want to do events on social media. Also measuring engagement. So yeah, so I want to focus the measurements on Telegram and also on social media. I haven't started that yet, but I've joined another program which is offering a digital launchpad for SMEs.
Yeah.
But machine learning was something that they're not touching. How it works. Yes.
Okay, good. So I'd say for you, if you're looking at engagement, you can look at engagement on the most fundamental things for you. I think if you're trying to build a community, you have to. There's a certain purpose you're trying to achieve, and maybe the engagement would happen on Telegram, but the engagement is also measured outside Telegram in a way that if you had set up let's say you have set up a certain meetup, right? You set up a certain meetup, and you advertise it on social media and you put it on Telegram where you've encouraged people to have conversations by themselves, right? So if you've been able to do that, the best measure would actually be the social media content that you've put out, right? Because if people have been talking on Telegram and you want them to do a physical meetup where they meet and share value, then the measure of them signing up would actually be the value of the engagement that you might have, right? So that's one. The second one would be on Telegram. Telegram has Telegram bots that you can actually create but they're not super smart, but they'll give you a good step in learning how engagement works. So you can have a bot for a certain group where any member joins in, you can ask them specific questions. And if you ask them those questions, anyone else in the Telegram group can sort of it fosters engagement, because now I know there's a CEO of this, there's a CEO of that. I've been wanting to meet with this person. So if everyone joins and the bot asks them a question, they reveal or give you an opportunity to engage. And also something else that bot actually does is you put up different polls on the same Telegram. And once you put those polls, you're able to pick on specific, able to ask questions that will foster you towards your goal. If you want them to, like, perhaps, are you willing to join? Are you willing to join a certain program? Yes or no? That will teach you what something this month for entrepreneurship. Yes or no? Then that bot is able to give you some statistic on what's going on around it. And also for your social media engagement, you can also see platforms like I've spoken around Facebook, that you might be able to see how people are doing, and how they interact with the content that you put out. And now you can be able to make a decision. So I think for you, it's like, I'm never pushing people to like set up any data science teams and all. It's just use the tools that start to push you towards data literacy and how important that is for your business.
Okay. Thank you very, very much. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. right. Anyone else?
Hi.
Yes.
Hi, Coach. Thanks a lot for those two sessions. They have been quite informative to me.
Yes.
Uh, I've actually realized I actually ever came across a job for annotators. I was doing some few tasks for remoters, and I didn't realize I was actually an annotator at the time.
I know them.
Yeah. So I didn't know what I was doing at that time. I was just trying to find some few bugs here and there. So my question is,
Wait,
my
just
my background.
Eric,
Yeah,
just to
yeah,
stop you a
yeah,
bit, just give me a minute
yeah.
to ask Nduku. Nduku, if you can,
Yes.
kindly just mute. There's some
Okay.
discussion on your side. Thank you. Good. So, Eric, you can go ahead.
All right. So I was saying I actually engaged in some few tasks in annotation, but I didn't realize what I was doing at the moment. Right now I know what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, my background is in finance, accounting, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to understand how I can come to incorporate the same. That I think it also relates to yesterday's question, how I can come to integrate the two, that is accounting, finance, and AI, mostly so that I can maybe predict stuff and make analysis and all that. Because I also have probably an idea of getting to management consulting and all that. So I was thinking, and I also believe that AI is going to help in making better predictions and all that. So how can I have sort of get to tap into that knowledge so that I can implement it to make better informed decisions?
Okay. I think what if you're looking at around finance, finance is promising, to be honest with you. I'm equally in the same field, but on the credit side. So I'll tell you, it's one of those places where there is much needed automation, there's much needed prediction and analysis that is coming on that part. I would say I don't know exactly the idea in which you're going to do it. If you're doing consulting on management basis, just pick if you're doing something around accounts, pick if you're doing auditing, pick if you're doing credit, credit scoring. Then once you're able to select that, you can either start off with tools that are already in place. Now you combine your what we call domain knowledge, which is you can read the numbers that the tool will tell you, so that you can give insights to your client. So that is something that you can do. If you decide to go outright and build a small team, let's say you have one data scientist in your team that will be looking at people's data, then you that will be also a good way. You can come up now with more deep insights that you can make a few dashboards on, or even make a whole service from, because from in my example, I've been able to create a credit scoring model as a service to financiers. That means there is a specific system in place that does a machine learning system in place that simply credit scores for unsecured loans with different ledgers, from M-Pesa ledger to bank statement ledger to actually even inventory ledger, inventory data from on the retail side, right? So that you can make a decision on what is the best amount that you can have for you. So you can decide to come up with a system around it, just that will help you either internally for your management consulting in finance, or you can go ahead and just be able to get small tools that will kick you off to start. Hoping if you will stick around with us, we might get to the specific tools and how we can now, if you want to build dashboards around finance, depending on the idea that you have, I'll personally be here during that period to help you through how to do that as someone who's starting out.
All right, thanks a lot. So I think basically for such tools that you're talking about, I don't know, probably you're talking about Power BI and stuff.
Okay, Power BI is a good example. There is,
Yeah.
yes, the Power BI is probably a good example. There are other ones that we can walk you through, like Metabase, that now will need you to, it will save you on your coin as a small person, as a small SME starting out, or someone who's trying to play around an idea. But it will
Yeah.
need you to be a bit more hands-on with the kind of data you'll be interacting with and the kind of insight that you will share to your customers when you
Yeah.
consult. Yeah.
All right, and then with those tools, does it mean that I'll have to dig deep now to understand, probably to go now the way I was asking, probably to dig deep into maybe data science or that, or I'll just have to understand the specific tools that I'm going to work with?
You can understand specific tools, but
Yeah.
having shown you how this can, having shown you how this can, why it's important to understand what's going on so that you know
Yeah.
what's going on. I might
Yeah.
advise you, if you're doing, just do, try to focus on data analysis for finance, for starters.
Mm,
Not all of
mm,
us might be data scientists. Not all of
mm,
us will end up to be data engineers. So, but if you're doing consulting, you're taking on clients,
mm.
you might need to be a bit more competent in not only the tools but the skill sets of combining finance with data skills, then the tools to facilitate that.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Good. So I see there's uh,
Coach,
yes,
do you want me to now so that we can wrap up the session because
yes,
of
sure.
time?
Time. I had
Great,
not
thank
seen that. Sorry. Yeah.
no problem.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. And I'm so glad you've stuck it to the end. You see, for you to know the person who wins the battle, they stick to it to the end. They're the people actually who fight in the field. I know you know that saying somewhere in the internet. Though that is not my point. My point is we're glad that you stuck to this particular point. What does that mean? That means AI is exciting. There's something in you or it's something in what you want to do resonates with artificial intelligence. And so that is why now I'm here to advise you what will be the next step. As a matter of fact, what I've had Nduku say, I had left at some point, but I came back towards the end. And I think I found Nduku talking, and I've also heard Eric speaking. And this is where now the rubber meets the road. And, I want to give you this very simple piece of information. It depends on what you want to do with it. And allow me to start with Eric, the person I heard last. If you want to become a management consultant, remember there are management consultants out there. That I promise you. And yes, we'll send you the slides. And other than that, if you would become a management consultant who has an AI, what would I call you, consulting firms as an addition on how they can implement AI to run their organizations, you will be the most sought after management consultant. So you're not only a management consultant in the accounting field, but you're showing people how they could improve on their accounting or on their financial statements using artificial intelligence, and also showing them how they could cut their costs by half or in significant numbers. And that is the beauty about artificial intelligence and any field in this world, any industry. So if, for example, you're an entrepreneur, like now diving into Nduko, you could be an SME consultant, like the way you're already doing this, you already have the tools. The question is, how do you make this even more valuable to your teams, right? By adding AI knowledge to, to thousands and thousands, changing people's lives, impacting them, helping them get to the next level, helping them survive the future, right? Creating great businesses in the future because you shared with them this knowledge. And this is why we were doing what we are doing, so that now we can guide you through the next steps. What do I do? What is the next step? So very fast, I wanted to share slides, but I think I want to avoid that. What I would say, so we have now a course, a 6-week course that I would advise you to take. The fact that you've gotten to this point, I know you have an idea. I want you to learn how to implement particular tools. All tools solve every problem. Every challenge has its own tool, and this is where we want to take you through. Like I had one of you ask, how do I implement, which tools do I use, etc. This is where now the rubber meets the road. I will still share my screen, but I'll move very fast so that I can be more specific and you would know what you're getting. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, there we go. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen? Give me an information.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. So what am I saying? For this course, very fast, just allow me to move very fast. You're going to learn now more. You see, you got definitions of what machine learning is, right? Now you delve more and dive into what it is, the types of machine learning, what every type is used, what are the examples, who is using it outside there, do you want to try it, etc. But other than that, you will also collect real data. And you're not going to collect data from nowhere. You're going to use your own companies, your own management consulting, your own entrepreneurship, whether you're doing fashion, whether you're in social media, whatever business you are in right now, or whatever business you are imagining to start, then we will challenge you to create that business and start collecting data. We'll show you from the beginning, how do I identify what I want? You start with the end goal. And then you start collecting. We show you the tools that you're going to use. And then we challenge you to go out there and start collecting. Once you have the data, the next step we take you through is, how do I analyze this data? How do I clean it? How do I, now put it in an AI tool to make sense of it so that I can create a model? What is the data telling me? Is the data telling me that my customers are aged between 20 to 25 and not 50 to 60, as I had imagined? Is my data telling me that my customers are coming from Nigeria and not Kenya, as earlier indicated? Right? So this is what we're going to take you through. But other than that, also, I'm going to show you how to handle an AI project. If you want to do this by yourself in your organization, then we'll show you how to do that in real time. How do you handle an AI project from beginning to the end? But other than that, in addition, will help you put everything you learn along the way into practice. We'll show you how to test precision targeting. We'll show you how to create an MVE, all right, the minimum viable experiment. So what does that mean? That means you create a product to experiment with. It doesn't have to be the real product, but also you can use your product that's already in the market. But yeah, we recommend you experiment with the product so that if it works, you apply to your existing products. Create a minimum viable experiment using your own business. And then you can also test that out on social media or whatever areas that you want to do. And then we'll go further and help you choose tools that are going to work for any part of your business. You could choose human resource. Here we're trying to see, what can AI do for my business? So it could be marketing, it could be social media, whatever it is, but we'll put you into practice. So the question is, for this, would you want to work alone or would you want to work with a team? All right. And it costs us, one thing TechMindset is doing, we are making it affordable, because this is a course that is minimum, I think it's not even $100. It's a minimum $600, you know, just to do the introductory part. But we're giving you all this because we want this information to be accessible to you and the generations to come. And that's why we're doing it for $55. And it's a 6 weeks course. All right, that is going to be practically learned. Every session will be put into practice, and then you'll get certified. But certification is not that important. Yes, you get certified and you hang it there, and then what? No, we'll teach you. You will put it into practice. You'll use real AI tools, and you'll be able to implement it in your business. You're not implementing it in anyone's business. We are not going to give you Safaricom or, you know, Kenya Airways, whoever will take it up. No, we want you to prove that AI can work for small businesses. If it works for your business, then it can work for any small business in Africa. So you can imagine how many small businesses can be changed just by the fact that you've given an example yourself to do the same. So that would be the next step. If you're interested, you have my number. Coach, you can also put your number there. You can also contact the coach,
Sure.
and we'll be happy to engage you. So it starts on 2nd of August. That is, I think, 2 weeks from now. If you're able to pay between now and 31st, we give you the discount of $55. All right. So if you're interested to learn further, we'll be happy to have you. And this will be the first SME class that will be putting AI into practice. So we'll be excited to have you on board. Any questions?
Hi. Hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
Oh, on what you have shared, I can see that the program itself is. Does it mean that it is pre-recorded videos or?
What happens?
Yeah.
A week before the first module, yes, we pre-record, so that you're able in that particular week, then we give you steps and guides on what needs to be done. By the end of the week, then you have a quiz and you have a practical session, and you also have one day, at least one day a week, a session with your coach where you ask all the questions and you submit what you have, etc., etc. So yes, there's going to be pre-recorded content, but we are going to have deadlines. For example, if we release a pre-recorded content a week before, then we'll give you time to learn at your own pace, so that we are not restricting you to learn every Mondays at 6 p.m. and you might be stuck in traffic and then you start asking for recording. It's the same thing. Learn at your pace. But at the end of the day, you'll have a session where you engage with your coach one-on-one for about an hour, and then you do your practicals. Hope that answers you.
Yeah.
Okay. Coach, I can see from Victor, he's saying what I'm learning today is that there are already existing tools or softwares that use AI to help businesses on specific objectives. Coach, you want to answer that?
Yes, they are existing tools that actually help you throughout the process. We understand, and probably most people might have had the notion that you have to have a full-on team doing all data science and data engineering in place in order for you to benefit from the technology. I'm trying to tell you that you do not need all that. You just need to know what is the right tool that you might use for your business. And also the second thing is also, what mindset do you need to have when you are trying to come up with a solution, or trying to come up with a solution out of your own data and also as in your business. So yeah, that's why I'm looking, as John said, just looking forward to see you guys join. Have no problem taking you guys through specific tools, more more customized, more one-on-one on what you're trying to achieve. Just help you achieve your objective with the right mindset of machine learning and with the necessary tools that as and adjust for you. Like, we would walk through the strategies that you need to have in place for your own unique business. The project of the whole session will be your own business, and I'll be there to help you set that up for yourself. Choose the right tool so that you can, build your business or build your career out of it. So yeah.
Okay, great. Do we have any other question? So please reach out to me or to the coach. Let us know. We'll send you through the sign up forms immediately. Once you just register with us, then we confirm you in regards to the same. So you can reach out. Let me share my number as well. 48446. We want you to be the first class that demonstrate AI for small businesses. Currently, there is none in Africa that demonstrates that. What we have, the demonstrations we have, are big corporates who are trickling down the solutions to small businesses. That is good. But why don't we do it the other way around? Why don't we have the small businesses taking charge and doing that by themselves, taking lead in the AI world, and be able to impact even smaller people, right? The mama mboga, the small farmer who just wants a very simple solution through Mulikamwizi, but you as a small business, you have the ability to help them apply AI that has an output on their small mobile phones, and it makes everyone's life easy. So the question is, are you up for the task? And that's what we want to do together. So excited to have you guys. So I want to wish you all the best in your business, even if we don't meet again. I'm so glad that you got the little that we had to offer for you to help you understand what artificial intelligence is and what its impact would be in the future. So thank you very much. Unless you have any other question, I would love to wish you a lovely evening. I'll be here until the last one of you leaves. So if you have any question, don't worry. Please keep on. You can ask. Hi, Benjamin. Hi, Mary. Do you have any questions? Okay. Hi, Miriam. Hi, Mary. Do you have any questions? Coach, you want to stop recording?
Yes, I think I'll stop the recording from here now.